Forget everything you think you know about the striker versus grappler narrative. It's a tired, worn-out script that's been played in the UFC octagon 1,000 times. A simplistic label for a sport that has evolved beyond such crude classifications. And frankly, it's an insult to the two athletes we're about to witness. This isn't a simple clash of styles. This is a war of attrition fought on multiple fronts, a battle of philosophies, a duel of inevitabilities. We're conditioned to look for the obvious, to watch for the thunderous knockout blow or the slick, fight-ending submission. But what if the most pivotal moments in this fight happen in the seconds before any of that? What if the true, decisive conflict is waged in the spaces between the punches, in the subtle shifts of weight, the barely perceptible feints, and the psychological pressure that will dictate the entire course of this championship bout? You've seen the highlight reels, you've heard the commentators drone on with the same predictable talking points, but they are all missing the invisible war. They're watching the ripples on the surface, oblivious to the powerful currents moving beneath. By the end of this breakdown, you will not only understand the profound complexities of this matchup, you will see the fight in a way you never have before. You will see the ghost in the machine. Let's begin with Jack Della Maddalena, a fighter who has perfected the art of creating an illusion of choice for his opponents. His relentless forward pressure isn't just mindless aggression. It is a carefully crafted and suffocating strategy designed to systematically dismantle his adversary's options. Every step he takes forward is a question he poses, a problem he presents. Will you retreat and cede territory, or will you stand your ground and engage with me in a firefight? For most who have faced him, both answers lead to the same devastating conclusion. His boxing is a fluid, violent work of art, a symphony of destruction. He doesn't just throw combinations, he builds them with the meticulousness of a master architect. It starts with a thudding jab to the body, an investment that pays dividends later. Then a hook to the ribs, another withdrawal from his opponent's energy account. And then, once the guard lowers, once the mind is preoccupied with the assault on the torso, a devastating uppercut or a laser-guided cross finds its home on the chin. He is a true master of attrition, a fighter who fundamentally understands that the will can be broken long before the body finally gives out. His primary weapon, however, is not his fists, but his footwork. It is the engine that drives his entire offensive machine. He cuts off the cage with the chilling precision of a master hunter cornering his prey, turning the vast 30-foot octagon into a claustrophobic phone booth. This is his world, his domain. He thrives in the heat of battle, in the chaos of a close-quarters exchange where his opponent's reactions become primal and predictable. He wants a brawl because he knows that in the fog of war, refined technique often gives way to raw instinct. And in a battle of instincts, his are sharper, his combinations are more fluid, and his power is more pronounced. His mission is clear. He has to make Islam Makhachev uncomfortable, to force the stoic champion to fight on the back foot, to disrupt the metronomic rhythm of the methodical predator. He needs to turn this chess match into a dogfight, a bloody scrap where the hunter suddenly and shockingly becomes the hunted. But herein lies the terrible, beautiful paradox of Jack Della Maddalena's style. His greatest strength is, and will always be, his most glaring, exploitable vulnerability. The very forward momentum that makes him so terrifying is a double-edged sword of the highest order. Every single step he takes forward is a step closer to the abyss. If that relentless pressure is halted, if that forward march is reversed, and he is the one who finds his back touching the unforgiving chain-link fence, the entire dynamic of the fight shifts in a single, heart-stopping instant. A stationary Jack Della Maddalena is a vulnerable Jack Della Maddalena. His intricate, punishing boxing combinations become useless if he cannot create the space and angles to unleash them. His footwork, his greatest asset, becomes his most significant liability. He transforms from a dynamic mobile threat into a target, a sitting duck for the most dominant and suffocating grappler in the entire division. The fight, for all intents and purposes, is over in that moment. The ghost has been caught. Now, let's turn our attention to the other side of this collision, to the patient predator, Islam Makhachev. He is not a fighter who seeks to overwhelm his opponents with brute force or explosive athleticism. He is a strategist, a grandmaster of the canvas, a problem solver of the highest caliber. His approach is one of methodical deconstruction. He doesn't just want to win, he wants to break his opponents down piece by piece, mentally and physically, until there is nothing left but surrender. His vastly improved kickboxing is not for show. It is not a concession to fan-friendly brawls. It is an integral and often misunderstood part of his intricate web of deception. Those sharp, stinging leg kicks are not just to inflict pain. Their primary purpose is to immobilize, to turn the nimble, bouncing striker into a plodding, predictable target. The constant feints and subtle level changes are not just to keep his opponent guessing. They are carefully designed experiments to elicit a reaction, to gather data, and to create the precise opening he needs to close the distance and initiate the clinch with minimal risk. Makhachev plays a game of three-dimensional chess, using his strikes as pawns to control the board and corner the king. He is a master of misdirection, of lulling his opponents into a dangerously false sense of security. He will stand and trade just long enough for them to believe they have a fighting chance in the striking department. He will absorb a few clean shots just to test their power, gauge their timing, and analyze their patterns. And then when the moment is perfectly ripe, when his opponent is fully invested in the stand-up battle, he will strike. The takedown, when it finally comes, is not a desperate telegraphed lunge. It is a calculated, almost effortless maneuver, a seamless transition from one phase of combat to another. It is the culmination of everything that has come before it, the logical and inevitable checkmate. However, even the most patient and calculating predator can make a mistake. For Islam Makhachev, the fatal error is not a technical one but a mental one, a brief lapse into overconfidence, a lazy, unsupported entry, a telegraphed shot from too far out, a moment of poor head position while closing the distance. These are the small chinks in the armor of the seemingly invincible champion. We saw fleeting glimpses of this against Alexander Volkanovski, a much smaller man who, through sheer grit and fight IQ, was able to capitalize on these brief lapses in concentration. Against a precision sniper like Jack Della Maddalena, a lazy takedown attempt is not just a missed opportunity, it is a potential fight-ending catastrophe. A looping counter right hand, a devastating intercepting uppercut, these are the weapons that can turn the tide in the blink of an eye. While Della Maddalena is fighting to avoid being trapped in a bad position, Makhachev is fighting to avoid a single devastating moment of impact. His margin for error on the feet, arguably, is significantly smaller than Della Maddalena's is on the mat. This entire epic battle hinges on a single crucial and violent moment, the collision. It is the point where Della Maddalena's relentless pressure crashes into Makhachev's patient, waiting trap. It is the moment of truth, the instant where the narrative of this fight will be irrevocably written. Who will dictate the terms of this crucial phase? Will Jack be able to create just enough space to punish the body, to batter the ribs, and to break Makhachev's suffocating grip before it's ever fully locked? Will he be able to use his superior boxing acumen to create angles, to pivot out of danger, and to resume his terrifying forward march? Or will Islam weather the initial frantic storm, absorb the punishment, and secure the body lock that signals the beginning of the end? Will he be able to drag Della Maddalena into his world, into the deep, dark waters of the canvas where he is the undisputed king, the apex predator? This transition, which will last no more than a few seconds, will tell you everything you need to know. It is the fulcrum upon which this entire battle rests. It is the ghost in the machine, the invisible war that will crown the victor. So here is the final analysis. Jack Della Maddalena wins this fight if he can force a panicked, uncharacteristic mistake from Islam Makhachev in the chaotic early rounds. He has to be perfect. He must be flawlessly aggressive and land a truly fight-altering shot. He must become a storm that Makhachev simply cannot weather. Islam wins if he remains patient, if he trusts his system, weathers that early onslaught, and waits for the positional mistake from Jack that he knows, with absolute certainty, will eventually come. He must be the calm in the eye of the storm. While the puncher's chance is always a tantalizing and terrifying possibility, the most likely outcome is that the methodical hunter will successfully and systematically exploit the inherent defensive flaws of his aggressive prey. The prediction is a victory for Islam Makhachev by submission or TKO in the third or fourth round after systematically breaking Jack Della Maddalena down and capitalizing on that one single fatal error. This isn't just a fight, it's a brutal and beautiful lesson in the science of combat, and the ghost in the machine will be the one who dictates the final decisive moments.